I saw a man walk out of a restaurant this evening, and my immediate intense thought was, damn, hey, they're hot stuff. I know women don't compliment men nearly as much as you all deserve, so I'm not sure if yelling that at the poor soul would have been an ego boost or just harassment. Story 1. If somebody said, damn, hey, they're hot stuff, I would think it was some sort of scam or maybe a setup to a robbery or even just a joke at my expense, because this just doesn't happen to men. If it was, hey, I really like your jawline, hair, or smile. You look really good. It is believable, and I would be very flattered because this doesn't really happen to men. Story 2. It has only ever happened to me once, like 8 years ago too. I was walking through an airport. It was like 4 in the morning. This lady called out to me, "You're so hot. I want to have your babies." You can ask Ryan Reynolds. He was walking right behind me. Story 3. It would have been a big ego boost. I would remember it for the rest of my life, and I would even consider having what's called hot stuff on my tombstone. Women underestimate how something like that is such a big deal to men. I was called cute and asked out 19 years ago, and I still remember it vividly to this day. Story 4. I've been catcalled by women a few times, and every time my immediate reaction is to look around because I assume it's not me they're talking to. After that, I just laugh and ride that high for a while. We don't get complimented much, but then again it doesn't bother us because since it almost never happens, we also almost never think about it or expect it. It's kind of like finding money on the ground. Story 5. Slightly irritated because I'm not hot, so being catcalled, I'd assume is some mean-spirited joke or her trying to be quirky or something mildly frustrating like that. Story 6. This happened to me once. I was bending over to pick up dog poop on my walk with my dog. As soon as I bent over, I heard, "Damn, sexy," and these two guys drove by in a white convertible Camaro. I stood up quickly and looked around in shock. I'm a middle-aged man. I know it was a joke, but I was flattered, shocked, and offended all at the same time. It's been about 10 years. Story 7. You can't sexually harass the willing, and I speak for all men when I say that we love feeling attractive to women. Now, if he had a woman with him, be prepared for a fight. Story 8. Dude, freaking stoked. I'll take all the confidence boosters I can get. I get why women sometimes don't like it because they can be scared since men are so much more capable of committing acts of violence, but I don't feel that way about women. So, no fear for safety, just a sense of feeling like I still got it. Haha, bring it on, ladies. Story 9. In the summer, most evenings I go out running and often take my shirt off. Having a car full of women honking or calling out something is a semi-regular thing. I just kind of laugh to myself and keep going. If I feel afraid for my safety, I'll run maybe just a little bit faster. Story 10. It has happened several times to me. It usually just confused me because I didn't know if they were serious or not. Turned out at least some of them were, because they followed me to give me their numbers. After knowing they meant it seriously, I found it quite flattering. Story 11. Living in Florida, shirtless running is way more comfortable than running in a dripping wet shirt. I get catcalls from cars with women in them all the time. I assume it's just typical runner harassment since I don't think I'm really anything to look at. It does give my ego a big boost, though, especially when they yell how much they love me. Story 12. I mean, I could see it being both an ego boost and harassment. I guess if you do it once in passing, I'd be flattered. If you suddenly turn around and start following me or something, then yeah, I'd be worried. Story 13. It's happened to me a bunch when I was a much younger man. I used to be a waiter, bartender, and corporate trainer. Women and men would catcall and flirt all the time. It was very flattering and uplifting, to say the least. Story 14. I once had a very old lady with the world's worst smoker voice whistle at me and tell me that I should be a model. I thought it was funny, so I wasn't offended. But it's different for men. You can call out and call my buns whatever you want. I'm not really worried that it'll come with harassment that's dangerous to me, so I'm totally fine with it. Story 15. Been a long time since anything like that happened, but in my experience, it's an ego boost. As has been pointed out already, it's different for guys. There's virtually no risk of assault or things being taken to a bad place. It's not intimidating. It happens so infrequently that it's not even a nuisance. more of a surprise and trying to make sure it was directed at you. Story 16. I was catcalled while changing next to my car. I was doing construction next to a retirement home and got catcalled by a group of elderly ladies. I laughed and waved hello and asked them how they were doing. This was all at the beginning of COVID, so it must have been a good show for them. Story 17. 5 to 10 business minutes later, I would realize that you were hitting on me and not just being friendly. I would chuckle at how dense I am, then continue on with my day. In the unlikely event that I realize I'm being catcalled, I'll smile and say something flirtatious back. If I think you are attractive and, depending on your response, I might stop and try to chat to see where it goes. Story 18. It's nice. I run in short shorts and shirtless. An old black lady stopped her adult kids and said to look out and let this sexy man cross. There's a sexy man crossing here. Let him through. Story 19. I mean, really good. Appreciated, wanted, hell, even just seen finally. Hot enough to be mentioned and spoken to. I would feel really good. Story 20. I still remember a girl telling me I had nice eyebrows in middle school. Her name was Jasmine. I even remember her last name. Probably only talked to her 3 times. Story 21. I remember one time at Walmart when I was like 19. A girl walked up to me and said, "My friend thinks you're cute," and walked away giggling. My first thought was, they are making fun of me. Story 22. Back when I was actually in shape, I got catcalled by 3 ladies in a Target. They said, "Damn, that white boy is fine." I kind of just laughed and kept walking because I like dudes. Story 23. I have been catcalled before. Walking on sidewalks with girls asking me to shake it. One group on a party bus invited me to perform a striptease for them. It's confidence building for sure. Story 24. I get catcalled by women who are on the more masculine end. While most other women around my age find me sort of mean looking, these types of women find me adorable. I know this because that's what my girlfriend's friends who are like that say, so I'm just going with that. Story 25. Had someone slap my ass in high school. Gone before I saw who it was. Confusion is likely the most common thing, but I look back and I'm like, maybe I was a hot piece of ass, who knew? Story 26. The only time it happened was at an anime convention. I've always been chubby or fat, so I cosplayed as Choji from Naruto. A group of girls catcalled me until I came over to them and shared their snacks. Story 27. Most times it happened to me. It's been either someone really unattractive or much older, like 30 years. So both kind of good and disappointing at the same time. Story 28. I would assume she was referring to someone else. It actually did happen once, though. It was in 1991. I still remember that one quite clearly. She was not attractive to me, but it was still great to know someone thought I was. Story 29. When I was 16, I was inside a store in the mall, kneeling down on one knee getting something out of a cubby. There was a glass wall behind me, and all of a sudden, these 5 girls were banging on the glass. It took me a while to figure out they were saying, "Nice ass." Story 30. I worked as a valet, a mover, and a junk hauler when I was younger, both jobs wearing form-fitting uniforms. Tight polo shirt and khaki shorts. I received catcalls, compliments, flirts, and on a couple of occasions, propositions. I just laughed them off and played into it. It's fun and funny to flirt and humor people. Story 31. I would feel great. On a side note, I went on a date years back and a random guy complimented my shoulders. I had been hitting the lateral raises hard. I lived off that compliment for a month. Story 32. One time, a girl rolled down her window in traffic and yelled that I was cute. I was with an ex-girlfriend at the time, and she was mad, so I acted like I didn't care, but I was excited. Story 33. I have not been catcalled, but I have had women take creepy shots of me while I was out biking without a shirt. I found it very creepy. Think if you would want it done to yourself or a friend, then decide whether it is appropriate. Story 34. Most men would think you are trying to trick them into going somewhere with you where there are 3 dudes waiting to fight you and steal your belongings. Story 35. The closest I've gotten to was while playing pool with my cousin. The waitress came and asked if we wanted more drinks. I said I didn't want to drink alone, and the waitress said, "I'll drink with you." I was just completely caught off guard and didn't know how to react or what to reply with. Story 36. Confused because it never happens. The last time I got catcalled was like 2 years ago. I'm walking around downtown and I see two girls in the corner of my eye sitting, waiting for the bus. One of them says this very shy hello, and I turn and look at them. They were like 14 to 15, awkward teens, kind of giddy. I just winked at them and kept going. Heard them giggling while I walked away. This happened in the span of 2 seconds. At first I was confused, but I had a quick wit moment and winked. I felt like a god afterward. Story 37. I've had women call to me in the streets before to compliment my long hair. It always feels good, especially when so many in our modern society keep telling me that I shouldn't have long hair and that I need to cut it short. I think if it's done right, catcalling can be a complimentary thing. I also love the videos of those guys who give people compliments over the megaphones like, "Damn girl. I bet you know the difference between there, and there." Story 38. When it comes to attention, except for rare exceptions, you can picture women as drowning and men as dying of thirst. The catcall is like pushing the person's head underwater. Hurtful to the ones drowning, life-altering for the one thirsty. Story 39. It has happened to me on multiple occasions. Typically, some haggard old lady with 2 teeth. And it's creepy as anything. But the one time it was a car full of young ladies, I rode that high for a month. I don't know if that makes me shallow or desperate or both. Story 40. As a waiter, I've been catcalled and groped. I'm usually flattered by the catcalls and flirting, but there are exceptions. Some drunk ladies will get to a volume I don't like or say things that aren't appreciated. The groping is almost never appreciated. Story 41. Used to happen when I was younger. Had my ass grabbed 3 times over about a decade, different women. Mostly pissed me off. I had been married for a while. Now in my 60s, those days are gone. Story 42. It happens, but it's never someone I'm looking for. So I smile shyly, nod, "Thank you," and keep walking. It takes practice to respond to these happenings. The first time I ignored, which made me seem snobbish, I felt. Other times, I've stopped and engaged but quickly regretted it. The best is to be like a politician passing by supporters. Nod, smile, maybe wink, slight hand raise, hi, but keep moving no matter what. Story 43. Reactions, in order of plausibility. 1. They probably mistook me for someone else. They were shouting at someone else. They are probably drunk. They did it on a dare or a lost bet. It's a prank. There's a hidden camera somewhere. They are doing some social media thing. They are after my kidneys. They are having a mental episode. 10. Aliens beamed secret codes into their brain that's making them act up. 11. Demonic possession. 462. Maybe they really meant it. Story 44. It happened a few times when I was younger. I initially felt confused, but overall it was morale boosting. I also had a stumbling drunk man once pull his genitals out in the hopes I'd perform an undesired act when I was sitting on a bench outside. It was tense for a moment because he just stood there for a moment, genitals exposed, when I told him I wasn't interested. I thought he might get violent, but he didn't. Overall, I saw the funny side of it, but I can imagine if you're a woman and a big man walked up and did the same, it could be genuinely terrifying. I've had men yell at me in the street more often. I have a passing resemblance to a famous character from a movie when I don't shave. Being yelled at by a group of men has a very different vibe to it. In my experience, it has a more aggressive feel, even if I can tell that's not the intent. Story 45. A lady where I work gives me compliments about my appearance. I'm not sure it's the same as catcalling, but I appreciate the comments. I have made sure to be transparent about it with my wife, but it's definitely a self-esteem boost. Story 46. It has happened rarely, like once every couple of years when I've been out running. I just chuckle and keep running. I don't view it as harassment, but that's largely because it's so rare. I suspect if the average woman got catcalled 3 or 4 times in a decade, she'd laugh about it as well. 3 or 4 times per week, I get why it sucks. Story 47. Even a woman showing interest in me causes red flags. Like, is she going to try to scam me, steal a kidney, or sacrifice me to the devil? The very last thing I would ever think was she thought I was attractive. Story 48. I get catcalled by women on the street several times a year. It usually happens when I'm working outside or walking downtown. I've always lived or worked close to colleges, parks, and downtown bar districts. Sometimes they yell from passing cars, or a group of ladies on a girls' night will holler from the sidewalk. I've also had a few dog walkers and joggers over the years too. It's a big ego boost for me, and when I tell my wife about it, she feels like she's out competing these other women because I'm hers. It's actually increased our intimacy. Story 49. If a woman is afraid of sexual assault when a man catcalls her, then men are afraid she'll lead him to a trap where two Russian men sexually assault, rob, and steal his kidney when a woman catcalls him. Look up male versus female homicide and kidnapping rates. Story 50. It's so interesting to see how different men's responses are to getting catcalled. I said good morning to a random man that was shopping in the same aisle as me, and his tone was very suspicious. This comment section is helping me understand now. Story 51. Maybe 10 years ago, when I was in college, my friend and I were going for a run shirtless. A group of ladies shouted at us from a moving car. He still brings it up to this day. Story 52. I was walking back to my car from a pizza shop when some girl shouted at me, "Nice ass," and I genuinely felt elated. It didn't occur to me until much later that she likely was mocking me. Story 53. I have reacted the same way to women and gay men my whole life. Earliest at 15 years old, in a gay club. I'm straight. Once you know you are the object of the catcall and you need to be sure or you looked with a silly turn. Make eye contact and shout, "Cheers pet/flower/love. Mine's a Guinness." Or, "Sorry pet/flower. I don't believe in love at first sight. Do you want me to walk past again